If you're sitting here today looking at your business and going, what am I not doing right? Why am I not increasing in revenue year over year? Why do I feel like every day is a struggle to get sales and to get revenue into my business? Your first problem is operations and diving into the operations of your business. If you're not profiting from the work that you do or understanding the numbers behind the efforts that you're putting out, you'll never be able to compound the success.
Welcome to the Art of Kaizen for Entrepreneurs, growing 1% everyday podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Art of Kaizen for Entrepreneurs podcast, where we get to discuss how to grow 1% every day in both business and in self. Today, we have Italo, an entrepreneur, an inventor, and a true savant of psychology and advertising. He's the founder of Pedal, an agency that helps companies build revenue flywheels by leveraging HubSpot and revenue operations to 10x success. Thank you, Italo, for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kyle. Happy to be here.
Dude, super pumped. You gave me a little bit of background before we got into this call, and you got me so excited that I had to pause you and get right into the podcast to get this on recording. But you have an incredible story of how you came about developing your position of understanding marketing and understanding business, as well as creating this agency. Can you back it up a little bit and tell the listeners where you come from, where you get your expertise from, and how this business is created today?
Yeah. It's a crazy story. It's a long one, so maybe help guide me to some of the cliff notes. But so I started out in healthcare. So I still to this day do a lot of marketing for healthcare. But started out as a healthcare person. My whole family kind of does the medicine thing. I'm first generation, so I think most immigrants come over here and do something safe like engineering. Become a doctor, lawyer. I never really knew entrepreneurship was even an option. I lucked out and kind of fell into it. So when I was in college, I was in the pre-med club. I was a senior. I was taking MCATs. I was going to go to med school. Pretty ready to go. And I happened to get an email from our entrepreneurship club. So like at NC State University, we have all of our clubs share an email, like newsletter. So if you're in one, you get all the emails. And so I got an email that was like, do you have a business idea? Like, do you have a product you want to take to market? Like, win all this money at NC State University. You can win $100,000. Just apply now. And so it had to be just great timing. So I was in a band in college. I was kind of like always an entrepreneur. Like used to throw parties when I was younger. Used to do like promotional stuff. At this time I had a band and we were getting paid to like gig. And I was like 18. Well, I'm young for my grades. I think I started college at 16. So I think at this time I'm like 20. So I'm like too young to even be in the club where people were drinking. But I was playing shows and gigging and getting paid. And I was the manager of my band. Most people in my band were 25 and up. They were adults. They had time to like learn songs, but I was a student. I was pre-med, so I was human biology major, double major psychology, minored in entrepreneurship. And so I didn't have a lot of free time, like learn songs. So what happened is, I had a day job as well. Like the weekends would come, I had to learn a bunch of songs like in a day. So my senior year of college, I took a perception class in psychology and I took an abnormal psychology class. And I wrote like my senior paper on how memory works. And so I realized that memories are tied together by senses. So like the more senses you can tie to a memory, the faster you're going to get to that memory. And that's kind of like how trauma works. Like when people have trauma, they associate things together. Like it's not just being, yelled at or being physically hurt. It's like all these things together get that memory up. So anytime you smell something or feel something or see something, it brings that memory back, like PTSD. And so you can use that in a positive way as well, where I saw something called grapheme and synesthesia and abnormal psychology. So synesthesia is like where people's wires are kind of crossed. And there's a lot of common cases of this. Like Jimi Hendrix is known for having a type of synesthesia where like he can see music. So whenever he hears something, he might like hear a key and like, oh, that key is purple. So you'll always see like a purple, like kind of hue whenever he would hear that kind of song. Like a lot of people have perfect pitch, have that. And so grapheme is the most common type. So grapheme is when someone who writes a character, every character has an actual color. So like when the first case is like this kid talking to his dad, and he's like, yeah, like if he's like trying to teach him how to write an R. He's like, well, you need to write a P and like add a leg to it. And he's like, oh wow, you can like turn a blue letter into a purple letter just by adding a leg. He's like, whoa, what is this? And that's like how like he uncovered that his kid had grapheme. Like every character has a color. And so when you do that, you can memorize things faster. And so that's like the most common sort. So I had to learn how to play these songs really quickly. And I had done this and I was writing my senior paper on this at the same time as gigging. So I was like, what do I know about memory and learning and how can I apply that to me learning these songs faster. I can go play the show this weekend with my band. And so I started color coding music, color coding tabs, and then like color coding my guitar, like G is green, B is blue. Just learn how to play it faster. And also if I kind of forgot how to play it, I could pick it up faster while I was like live. And so I started doing that and it worked for me. And then so when this entrepreneurship program came up, there was an opportunity for me to showcase this. So just in the background as this happening, I was trying to go get the patent for this to get patented, which eventually did get patented at this time. I think by the time the competition actually happened, I already had the patent. So going through getting the patent for this, I got this entrepreneurship invite. I ended up applying. The programs were like business plan, write a mission statement, vision statement, write a business plan, write an elevator pitch, do a product demo. And each one of these things is like $10,000 if you win. And I swept gold. I won everything. And so I literally just Googled like how to write a business plan, like how to do an elevator pitch. Like I had no background, no business knowledge, no business acumen. I love business. It's just a person, as a hobby. I just did fun things like that out of necessity, really. But I didn't know any formal business training. I didn't even know what a mission statement was. So did that, got really lucky, won that. And so with that funding, UNC, NC State, and Duke have shared entrepreneurship like funding and network. And so NC State, where I'm at, is the top 5 design school in the world, top 10 engineering school. A lot of great products, a lot of great engineers, a lot of tech companies. UNC is UNC, great funding for sports and comms, communications, business. Duke, same thing, business, finance, big MBA program. And so it's a great network. And it's also North Carolina's like an original colony, like a lot of really smart people, generational wealth, like really intelligent people. And so I got to meet all these great entrepreneurs and kind of learn from them. And then this competition called Mash Challenge happened. And Mash Challenge was like tech stars of Boston, Massachusetts. And the guy who did it, John Hawthorne, was a Bain Capital guy. So he worked for Mitt Romney. He was really close to Mitt Romney. It was a little bit after Mitt Romney ran for president, maybe 8 years later. And so it was a really big political thing. It was supposed to like boost the economy of Boston and bring people from around the world. At the time, Boston was like #2 tech city behind Silicon Valley. So if you in 2010, you wanted to be in tech, you were either SF or you were in Boston. And so a lot of companies come out of Boston. Like the kayak guy was there, a lot of great people. And so when he made this program, you had to apply. My university ended up applying for me and paid for me to go to kind of represent NC State in this competition. And so I went, and it, like Google Ventures was funding it, Blackstone, BlackRock were funding it, all the biggest research firms in the world, like everybody was there. Steve Case, the founder of AOL, was our keynote speaker. He was, I got to meet him. He was one of my advisors. Jeff Taylor from Monster.com, like the original Indeed, was like one of my coaches. Like it was a phenomenal program. And so I got sent there. I applied, and the top 20 people from around the world got the office space, and we got it. So we got the top 20, we got the office space. I moved to Boston. I lived there for a year, and then got coached by these amazing like .com guys and software people. And that's when I realized, like, you don't have to go to work. You don't have to work your whole life. Like, you don't need a job. Like, there's other ways to build income and build like these revenue models and revenue wheels and like, systems that make you money. And I had no clue before that, like that was even an option. So that was like the moment my life changed. Going there, our office was in like the Fan Pier building in the Seaport. This is before anything was in the Seaport. It's 2010. The Seaport was empty at this time. But guys like would drive their yachts to the office, like on the water. And I'm like, senior in college. So I'm like still like on some like, what's your major kind of thing? Like, what'd you study to like get to be this person? Like, what job did you get? And they're like, I haven't worked in 20 years. Like, I don't have a job. Like, I built a company, sold it, and like I invest, and like that's what I do. And I had no clue this life even existed, or this was even a thing. Because my mother came from another country and learned the language and got a degree and became a nurse. Like that's all we knew. So that was like the moment my life changed. That's when I became an entrepreneur. I think I was always like a hustler and always did like gigs, band, parties, things like that. But like that's when the flip switched in me.
Italo, I gotta pause you right there because there's just so much to unpack there for the listeners, right? For the entrepreneurs and the business owners listening to this right now, think about that story and that progression. Started off with literally nothing and just motivation and a family that says you guys need to go out there and you need to make something of yourself, right? Mm-hmm. To go into college and going to college early, like you mentioned, which means that you cared about your education, you moved past that mm-hmm. process quickly, but then to highlight the biggest benefit that for all the top end entrepreneurs I've ever talked to that did come from a pedigree style college, the number one value that they had was the connections that they made in those colleges. And that's what you highlighted, right? You made really good connections. And then to be able to say, I built a product to solve a personal need, but I had the intellectual level to be, and the humbleness. Listen, entrepreneurs and business owners, listen, the humbleness to say, I know what I can create. I'm going to put it out there in the world, and then I'm going to listen and absorb and do as much as I can to become a better entrepreneur, to be a better business owner, to reevaluate the way I look at my life. Awesome. I mean, just an incredible rags to riches story, and the development of, and congratulations on winning all of those, right? The product itself sounds incredible. My father plays guitar. I've always wanted to learn. That probably would have helped me out a lot faster if I had a system like that, right? So incredible that you started off in the engineering space or in the space within college, develop these products and then be able to evolve. But I got to ask you, how does this lead into a marketing agency? How does this lead into developing a company that you now help other companies grow?
Yeah, man, I'm glad you asked. Man, this is such a, like, I'm so glad you asked. So, you know, it would have been great if, you know, like we just crushed it and we went on to be, you know, Zuckerberg, but that's not what happened at all. We found out pretty quickly that, one, you know, for a lot of reasons, the product was going to fail, and I think it was too expensive. People are not used to paying that for this kind of product. We didn't know how to do customer interviews or customer research ahead of time. Again, I wasn't a business person. We didn't know how to do customer interviews ahead of time. We would have found this out way sooner. I had already taken funding at this point. I had made this network, made these great connections. They had faith in me. They funded me, and then we had done no research outside of I developed a product, got it patented, which is a good moat, a strong moat, great start. But like, we had done no interviews with customers to understand price points and what was going to happen. So the product failed for a couple of reasons. One is all guitars are not measured the same. You can get two guitars from the same maker and it measures a little bit off. So, and then strings stretch. So they didn't always end up where they're supposed to end up. So almost impossible to do. Two, even when he did do it right, like even pretend we could every time, you got to write a lot of times, not every time. Even when we could, what would happen is strings vibrate. And so they're a different material. Like, people buy nickel plated for certain sounds, people buy bronze for certain sound. There's no 4 or like 20 year bluesy, you want your sound, you buy different strings. Adding a lacquer to that, adding paint to that changes that sound. Another big thing for musicians. Another thing is the cost to make this. Like, you almost have to do it by hand. Like, you can't really manufacture this at mass scale. It's really hard. You have to build this custom, which we kind of halfway built, this custom apparatus and machinery we got halfway through building, realizing how expensive it was going to be, and we would need millions of dollars to pull this off factory wise. It was just, and then even to do it then, the price point was still too high. People were used to spending $3 to $5 on a string. People would be spending $30, $40 on a set of strings that didn't sound good, didn't feel good, and like it was too unfeasible. But if we would have known, you know, what I know now, we could have solved that issue. So the company failed. And I came back home, and my background is in healthcare. I worked at doctor's offices my whole life, and we always help doctor's offices do what's called revenue cycle management. And so, like, doctor's offices don't get paid by patient, get paid by insurance. There's a team that has to go get that money and make sure the money flows in. So it's like a revenue cycle, like a loop, a feedback loop. So I learned how to do that through doing, you know, those businesses. And so when I came back home, I got back at my job, did that, you know, help doctor's offices scale, and it was kind of figure out what I did wrong as an entrepreneur. I was too young. I wasn't seasoned enough. I didn't know how to do these things. So I was looking for like help, like, where's the blueprint? I keep getting fragments of knowledge from people who are really smart and successful, but like, where's the blueprint? Like, how does the business work, start to end, like all these different things. And I couldn't find it. And like the internet in 2010 was what it is now. In 2010, the internet was like, there was no Facebook ads. There was no gurus on there like giving you the blueprint. And back then, people held this really close to the vest. People didn't want you to know how they're successful. Now people tell you things because they want to generate content to help teach you, so you build trust with them and you work with them later. That wasn't the model back then. People did not want to tell you these secrets. So I felt like I was, you know, as a minority, I felt like embarrassed, and also felt like I couldn't go to these people because of the failure. And I felt like I was an outsider, and I felt like I didn't have the resources to go figure this problem out. So I just started self-studying, and I did it through my consulting. And I started a side consulting to help other businesses. Like, just things I learned. Like, what I did learn in Boston was how to code and how to use software to automate a lot of my business and to track a lot of data. In North Carolina, they're still very behind that in the South. So being from Boston, or if you're SF, you were way ahead on tech and putting tech in businesses. Sales of tech, you weren't doing that. So I've made that tracking and started doing side consulting and like learning as I went. And I found two things. I found a lean startup, which is a good method for customer discovery, iterative improvement, feedback loops, and how to, you know, make sure you're doing the right thing instead of going all in and hoping for the best. And that's kind of what my interest was with this podcast, like the Kaizen effect, the iterative feedback, with the flywheel of learning. and making sure you're doing it one step at a time and you're taking the customer feedback to grow. That was what's changed my business perspective. And that's what that was like my saving grace when I came out for the second time. So I couldn't find this information anywhere outside of Lean Startup. I read that book. I took what I learned from that book onto my consulting clients to the doctor's offices, and then onto my consulting clients that I just did on the side to implement technology for tracking. And I used HubSpot for that. So I got HubSpot. And so, over time, I kind of figured it out. And then I found revenue operations, just kind of pulling it all together and basing it off of go-to-market, like marketing, sales, and success. So when I would go to doctor's offices, they would first say like, hey, I need to make sure we're getting paid. We're seeing patients, make sure we get paid. Once they start making sure they're getting paid and the money was flowing, they're happy, they would then launch another practice. And like, well, now I need to get more patients. How do I go get more patients? And so it was first, operational, foundational, then it was growth. And so I followed that strategy, went into that, and I learned how to do digital marketing because of my background in tech and tracking. And so I picked that up kind of as a natural path of after we get things right, things working correctly, and we have this customer feedback loop, we know what they want, how do we then go get more of them? And that was the growth. And so now as an agency owner, I built this agency for two reasons. One is to give the clients what I didn't have. Like I wish I would have had me as a consultant to help me not make these mistakes and help me have like a clear path on where I'm going. A lot of people have great ideas, but don't have the blueprint. And then two, to give people an opportunity to learn this like as a job. Like I want to be able to give people opportunities who like are hungry, want to learn this knowledge, and don't know like what I didn't know. You can work remotely and have a great life. You can make a ton of money on the internet, helping people and doing these great things and learning these really cool pockets of knowledge. And so those are two things I didn't even know existed. And so I try to provide that for other people. And that's the point of Pedal.
You must be an incredible human being. Listening to the story and the process, this is our first introduction and meeting you, but the whole point of this podcast for the listeners out there is to get the business owners that are ethically driven and focused on really helping the world move forward. Get them out there to the world, get them the content they deserve. And I'm so excited that you're here with me today because you are a perfect individual, right? The background of your development of going from, I am just trying to do good in this world because my mom says I got to push and I got to get a real job and I got to make money. And that leads to you pushing for a higher level of education that then led you to creating, becoming an inventor and creating new tools. And then that led you to be an entrepreneur, that led you to be an entrepreneur that gave you your first business that then gave you the problems. And then instead of just hanging your hat up and going back to what it is, you took those problems in and say, I want to continue to help business owners and not let them face the issues that I had to face in my business and give them what we call prudence, right? I believe that conscientiousness is the one defining factor of success, and conscientiousness is broken down through hard work, organization, perfectionist, and prudence, right? A lot of people work hard. A lot of people stay organized. A lot of people double check their work and make sure they're their own level of perfection. Not many people have the blueprint, like what you talked about. They have the prudence defined as the ability to make the right decision, right? So getting that blueprint in front of them. I absolutely love that. So give me an outline of what the agency looks today. How many clients are you guys working with? What's your ideal type of client? And what are you mainly servicing? When a client comes into your business, are you doing mainly HubSpot development? Are you doing everything from HubSpot CRM development to outbound ads? What does it look like for your clients today?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the business is now, I think we're like a little over a dozen people. Half of them are full-time, half of them are contractors, maybe more than that, but like, probably 6 full-time, the rest of them are contractors. And then, and so we've been around, so this is my second HubSpot agency. So I had one before this, that was bigger. This one, they've only been around for about 2 years now at this point, but going pretty strong. Client-wise, I don't know. I would probably say 20. I'd probably say 20. We closed like 6 in the past 2 weeks. I mean, it's really hard to tell. But the reason why it's so hard to tell is because we do a lot of HubSpot. So our core services are really 2 things. When I started, I did a lot of general consulting, and I realized it wasn't easy to productize and help other people. A big part of what I want to do is help the next guy or help the next person we hire, make it easy for them, be able to kind of learn what I have to teach. And if they use different systems every time, the learning kind of gets pushed over to the system instead of the theory and the business practices. So we wanted to pick something and stick with this. We went HubSpot. Like, hey, we want to build all our stuff in HubSpot. So we only work with clients who have HubSpot. We can do Salesforce as well, sure. We can do Pipedrive. We can do those other things, but we prefer to mostly do HubSpot. So now almost all of our clients have HubSpot because there's just a lot of back and forth doing other tools. And so that's what made it productizable and repeatable enough, because the reporting needs to be there. If you can't measure, you can't improve it, kind of thing. And so we want to make sure that that's all set up correctly. So HubSpot's the first big thing. People usually hire us for onboarding. And when you do onboarding, you want to pay someone to do onboarding who knows your business type. So we do revenue operation. If you have monthly recurring or annual recurring revenue, we help with that. because there's, if I'm Netflix, if I'm selling you TVs or DVDs, I can sell you DVD, go home, take it home, you bootleg, whatever. I got your money, I'm done. But if I'm selling you Netflix, you're paying $20 every month. Every month when that bill comes due, you reevaluate, like, am I getting value for this? I might cancel. That's why Netflix has a top 10, right? Like every month there's new shows, so you don't cancel. So there's something fresh coming. I get value every month. And so we want to do more than just help people sell. I want to make sure that they have success. Like they market by saying the right things and helping people solve the right pain points. And they close that deal, and then they have long-term success to these people because they're providing value every quarter, every month, every year. So that way people don't churn, and then they can grow with those businesses. So we do recurring revenue, people who want long-term clients. And in that, so that's, and we do mostly B2B, so mostly B2B revenue operations, so recurring revenue. And then the niches we have in that on the team is, my background is obviously healthcare and a lot of B2B SaaS. Also have a lot of private equity, mergers, acquisitions, e-commerce, and then and finance and fintech. On the team, we also have real estate, a couple other things, but those are the main things. So when HubSpot gets a HubSpot deal and this person has monthly term revenue and they're real estate tech or fintech or health tech, they shoot it over to us. And those are our strengths.
Love that. Know your customer, know your system, and know how to operate correctly. The fact that you stay underneath HubSpot, which for your listeners out there, if you haven't heard of HubSpot before, it's a high intensity CRM system that allows for open API integration into a lot of your advertising platforms, giving you clarity on your dollars out to revenue back in, right? And that's really what Italo is saying here, is that he's building systems, specifically in the categories that he mentioned, that are not just based on getting you on the market. It's not just based on brand. It's not just based on setting you up to present yourself to the ideal customer. It's everything from making sure that you're organizing and structuring how you communicate with your customer, all the way to, and correct me if I'm wrong, to the outbound advertising as well. Are you doing the outbound?
Yeah, good question. So we kind of built it one step along the way because we want to perfect it when we want to the next step. So we are doing some. Let me tell you, this is the thing that I learned that I think is super important for everybody. So yeah, we do some outbound, but we started with operations, how to make your operational efficiency and give you a blueprint to start. And then we realized, okay, cool, we helped them. Now people are going to leave because we gave them what we have. And then so I find that, there's this term, like, you never regret hiring a good sales guy. A sales guy makes a percentage. If he made $1 million this year, that means he sold you $10 million of business, right? Like, so we want to be those guys. Like anything you pay us, we want to make sure we give you a multiple on that. So we started tying it, because we do revenue operations, the tracking of this and the science of this, we tie ourselves to your revenue. So all of our services are tied directly to increasing your revenue. So after the planning and basic reporting and setup and benchmarking, we go into lead generation, which we do some PPC, we do cold email and outbound, and like LinkedIn and social selling. So those are the things that we do on that email. So we do that kind of outbound and lead generation. And so that's that. And then now we're perfecting for our next line of products is the success side. You can sell as many people as you want to, but if they don't stay long term, you don't have compounding. You don't have exponential growth. It's still linear growth. You only get compounding exponential growth when you retain people and then expand them. So what we worked on now, what this year is going to be for us, and it's right as well, is you now had clients for 2-3 years now that came from other agency here, or now been here since we started this one, and you want to keep them long term. And then and a lot of times what you notice, if you treat people really well, people don't want a lot of partners. People want to trust 1-2 people and really well. They don't want to have more things to deal with. So if you treat them well and you do well, they'll give you more services and expand. So now we're working on that retention expansion side. Again, because these things are tied directly to revenue, bringing in more leads from our business and then retaining people and growing those businesses. So now you have exponential growth. So those are the 3 things we do for your revenue.
Incredible way to articulate that. And again, entrepreneurs, business owners listening right there, that is the process. If you're sitting here today looking at your business and going, what am I not doing right? Why am I not increasing in revenue year over year? Why do I feel like every day is a struggle to get sales and to get revenue into my business? Your first problem is operations and diving into the operations of your business. If you're not profiting from the work that you do or understanding the numbers behind the efforts that you're putting out, you'll never be able to compound the success. Then it's the outbound efforts, like you mentioned, Italo, the outbound efforts to drive that interest into the business. But just driving them in means that you have to pay for every customer that comes through your front door, either through sweat equity and with the organic efforts or through paid advertising. Yeah. That means it's a high cost to engage the customer, which means your profit margin is very low. That's where the retention and expansion comes in, where Italo and his team is coming in and not only first making sure your business can operate in a way that's going to be successful long term, then ensuring you get your business out to the clients that are ideal for you, but then finally making sure you retain retain that customer, so that the high cost that you spend to bring them into your business is now leading into huge profit because the lifetime value is getting increased week over week or month over month. I love it. I love it. And thank you for articulating that. I think the structure that you put together, not only the way that you articulated it, but the way that you put your business together, I think is ideal. I think it's absolutely incredible. And honestly, if you're listening to this right now and you are in the B2B space and you are using HubSpot currently, and you do not have a agency or a team member that's working all three positionings of the growth of your business, you got to reach out to Italo. You got to connect with this team. Yeah, you got to make sure that I got a few more questions for you, because you're a super intelligent guy. You're on top of the ball, your movement, your adjustments, your psychology, all of that. I love it. You've gone through some of the trials and tribulations that you've had as an entrepreneur to get you where you are today. And I think that's what builds you confidence. Is there any story that you have between the previous HubSpot agency or the current HubSpot agency that you think our listeners would resonate, that you went through as you're trying to help people grow their business?
Man, there's so many. There's so many. I think the big one that I like to point out to people is it was just kind of my story, man. I think that there's a few lessons to learn from that. And let me point out a couple that I think are super important, because I think the general ones are there. You kind of touched on, like, there's, failure isn't failure unless you quit. Like, you just keep going. Like, it turns into a learning, right? Like, it's an education that you paid for with your time, probably. If you keep going, it's only failure if you quit, and so that's one thing to learn. So, I kept going, and luckily I did. And I wish I would have started sooner, because I probably took a 6-7 year hiatus to work for other people. I probably could have done half that time. Like, I learned what I need to learn in a couple of years. I was just too nervous because I lost people's money. I lost investment, and it really, really made me sad. It really hurt my heart that I'd lost, like, friends and family's money, and even investors' money, and their kids' college fund is all I thought about. Like, maybe that wasn't what it was. Maybe they had plenty of money, they didn't care. But, like, to me, it was a big deal. So it took me a few years to get back on that horse. Don't do that. Just get back on the horse. Obviously, don't be egregious to people's money, but, like, just get back on the horse. Because when I got back on the horse, I think it was less than, I think my second business, I think it was maybe 6, 7, 8 months in, we were doing a couple $100,000 a month. So, like, life changed overnight. I wish I would have got back on the horse sooner. So that's one thing, is just kind of keep going and stick with it if you're passionate about it. But the other thing I think I want to point out is, like, the shame when people have failure. Like, I think there's a lot of shame and failure, and it's just changing this generation, because this generation is much better at this. But, like, my generation grew up in, like, the Disney perfect person kind of situation. Like, you're the Karate Kid, you're the chosen one, you're the golden boy. Like, you're either perfect or you're nobody. Like, you're no one or you're the man. There's no real in between. And if you're the man and you make one mistake, you're now tarnished. You're no longer the man. Like, and that's the generation I grew up in. That's because what our program was, what our TV shows were, everything, like, all, like, the Arnold Schwarzeneggers and Sylvester Stallone movies, so the Disney stuff was just programmed that way. And now, one good thing about the internet is that people are sharing their experience and failures and saying, hey, that's not how it works. Like, plenty of people failed on it, so you still need to talk about it back then. They were ashamed. And, like, that's what sucks. And that's what took me a long time to come back. I didn't really understand that failure is part of winning. Like, the people who win the most, the people who fail the most, because they're just consistent. They show up every day and they get back up and they fight another round. And so that gave me a lot of heartache. It took me a long time to get back on the horse. So one of the things I want to get across to people is, like, man, like, it happens to all of us. Like, nobody's perfect. Sure, there are the Zuckerbergs. Those are, like, that's like winning the lottery. It's, like, a very lucky thing. And great, amazing. He's a great guy. But, that's not everybody. It's like winning the lottery. It's so rare. So don't count yourself out if it didn't go perfectly as you expected.
Yeah. And I feel that you just resonated with every listener here. If you are an entrepreneur, you've been in business for longer than 2 weeks, you have gotten kicked in the face, right? So you have gone through the process of how difficult it is. And it's going to lead me to a question that I have a little bit later in this interview. So I'll put a pause on that, because I really love your mindset on this. And I'd love to hear the answer on my question around Atlas Shrugs. I don't know if you've ever heard of the book or read the book before, but I have a question for you later on that concept. Right now, I want to dive into a little bit of where is it going? Where is the industry going? Because I think that you've hit the nail on the head, right? The one, as an entrepreneur, just speaking to the entrepreneurs out there, his story and his life lesson is a testament to what is needed to be successful as any business owner or any entrepreneur. Fight, find success, find failure, keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. As long as you have the core ethical value of there to help people, which is what you have, Italo, from the core of who you are, right? You are there to help people. I can hear it. Everyone that's watching this right now could probably feel it coming through the actual computer. But if you have the core value of I'm there to help, right?
Yeah.
There should be nothing hell or high water that stops you from getting up and keep trying to help people,
Yeah.
right? That's really the biggest thing. And you represent that incredibly well. And then to go through an understanding of the tech side first, and then entrepreneurship, and then the failure of entrepreneur, and then diving into why I failed and fixing that process. And now in the position where you probably have hundreds of case studies of success of businesses that you've helped out with, right? So to really shift that over and to come from, one of my favorite quotes ever is, do not judge me on my wins, judge me on my failures. Can't remember who quite said it, but at the end of the day, as an entrepreneur, we are going to continue to go, and we will find success every single day that we keep pushing. The failures are only the speed bumps in the road that slow us down from finding it, but don't stop an inch before goal. Like Italo was saying here, get up again, fight, go after what you find to be right in this world and how you want to help the world. So my question now, moving into the future, right? You've built this incredible agency. You built an incredible agency, sold it or moved past it. Now have a second agency. You've built new tools. You've gone very, very deep into the entrepreneur space with the people that you've met with. Today, with you having a HubSpot agency, I believe there's a lot of evolution in that space. One, people actually aligning with you and catching up to you, because I think you're ahead of the curve right now. But then two, I see a world of AI where HubSpot or CRM systems have a lot more juice behind them, a lot more efficiency behind them, a lot more available assets behind them that integrate much better across the entire space of advertising. So I'm curious, from your point, Italo, where do you see the industry going in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah. So there's, we kind of play on the line of a couple of different industries. And so, a couple of different, I guess, important factors. So in business, so the CRM thing, there's a term, and it's like, rising tide raises all ships, right? So like, why HubSpot? It's like, hey, you could do like all kinds of consulting. You could be much bigger than HubSpot. Like, why do you pick just HubSpot? It's like, sure, like I can still help people in a lot of other ways. I did this because I want to help a lot of people and I want to productize it. So it's kind of automated. I want to train people to do that. I can still obviously consult other ways, or do speeches or whatever. But why HubSpot? A rising tide raises all ships. So if we're on the HubSpot wave, and HubSpot, I think right now is at 4% of the market of CRMs. That is wild, because HubSpot is for sure for me the number one, if not the top two, right? And so who is number one? Well, Salesforce got here 20 years earlier. So Salesforce is the oldest one, not the oldest one, but is Oracle Enterprise, but the most popular one and the market leader. They have 24% of the market. Okay, there's plenty of different enterprise companies who have Oracle, like 4, 5, 6% people have Oracle, NetSuite, whatever. But that's a lot of market to cover. There's like a lot of market that's being taken up. These weird CRMs are like very niche for like, plumbers or real estate people and specific niches. Like, so I think HubSpot's going to broaden their tool stack, and it's really user friendly to kind of absorb that market. And even if it did just come from Salesforce alone, Salesforce at 24% in the market. If HubSpot even gets half of that, it's going to 3x in size. So HubSpot sold 10,000 HubSpot accounts last month. 10,000. So if I'm a top 10 HubSpot partner, actually at least 1% of that market, that's 100 deals a month. That's a lot of business. That's a lot of business a month for everybody. That's 1,200 clients a month. Every client pays $3 to $5 grand. That's a lot of money. That's millions. So that's why HubSpot, and that's where I think that market's going. I think HubSpot's going to come eat Salesforce's lunch. I think it's going to eat most people's lunches, and I think that it's going to get up to be around that 20% like Salesforce is. Not tomorrow, over the next 5 years. And so there's also all these other small CRMs I think we get eaten by HubSpot and Salesforce. Why? Because the nature of tech and software was, again, I do revenue operations, so this is very specific to software. Like I do a lot of B2B SaaS. That is our strength. And so, we've seen the market change, and from, when people like perpetual contracts, when people buy annual contracts. Back in the day, you bought a hardware and a software, you bought a CD-ROM, you did the hardware, you bought Windows, you bought it for life. Now we have this monthly recurring revenue thing. We even have consumption now where people are just paying per API call, like ChatGPT. You only have to, you maybe pay the flat fee, $20 a month. Then you just pay like per time you use it. It's a consumption model. And so what's happening is, when it started, is everybody wanted to add all these new software tools. You could get a software for this, software for that, an app for that, an app for this. And so people got all these tools. Now people are like, oh my God, I have too many tools. Every tool I have to manage the database. I have to manage the integrations with my other tools. I need a person to manage that. How many people do I need on my team? I have 20 tools. I need 20 people to manage one each tool. That's too much overhead. But people want to go to one tool that can do more things. And before, people wanted niche things that did every specific thing. That's changing. So that's why HubSpot and Salesforce come into play, because they can do all these things, all these smaller tools, only do one thing. You still need 7 other tools to get your campaign out. So people are going to think consolidate their tools. That's where the software market's going. And that's why guys at HubSpot and CRMs that are really core to your business, like what is more core than your customer relationship, right? It all starts there, and all the apps and plugins go off of that umbrella, right? Or build on that foundation. So that's what I think is happening with the industry. And that's what I think is happening with HubSpot, and why we do HubSpot, and why we've had growth is because we're on the HubSpot waves. When HubSpot moved from 2,000 accounts to 5,000 accounts to 10,000 accounts a month, we keep getting fed those deals, and we get to ride that wave with them. And that's what partnerships are about, right? And that's how, I met a guy one time in Boston, and he was selling insurance to small businesses, and he was failing. And he was like, I don't know, I can't small business owners don't have any money. Like, they don't want to talk about insurance. Like, they barely afford their payroll. And so he couldn't get any sales. He got one partnership, and his life changed. He became a multimillionaire. All he did is tell QuickBooks, I'll give you half of all the money I make. Just put me on number 1 on your app partnership page, and do an in-app notification. Whenever, if a business is this size, has 2 or 3 more employees, give them an in-app ad. Boom, life change. He had that one partnership. He never had to do sales ever again. Because who doesn't have QuickBooks, right? So that's the strength and beauty of partnerships, right? Especially a like channel partner.
Yeah, I mean, you've hit on so many points there. One, the development of it. Let me ask you this: do you believe that there's a world where a CRM would be able to have 100% of the attribution data?
Absolutely not. So I think that human are always going to be humans, and I think that and you mentioned something else with the AI as well. I think I want to touch on absolutely not. I think that where do we go now? All this AI happens, all these things happen. Where do we go now? It's never gonna be perfect, because things are always changing. Like I said, the way we used to buy TV, people in movies. I saw Ben Affleck talk about this, and he was like, "Yeah, back in the day, you can make a movie that wasn't Marvel exciting all the time, because you'd make movie at the box office, then you'd make movie later, get on the DVD. Now you don't get that. You just get the box office movie, and then it goes to streaming. You don't get any of that money. And so the way people buy changes all the time. Again, software, you buy it up front, so now you buy it annually, now you buy it monthly, now you buy it by consumption. You pay for what you use at the time. So buying behaviors always change. And so when those behaviors change, people like you and I go on the cutting edge of this, build those models to help people do that and follow the market, the trend. And then that's been done for 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Then everyone knows how to do it. It becomes best practice. And then they create a university course about it. And then someone else goes to university and learns that course about it. By the time you learn about that, it's already 15 years old.
Yep. Yeah. So you believe in it no matter what. We're never going to have a day where there's real, true, clear 100% attribution.
No, I think that the buying behaviors always change. Tech can't keep up with the way people buy that fast and change. I think that it's not linear, because we're just used to thinking very linearly, and it's never a linear model or motion. It's a very back and forth a lot of times. And I think, and that's what I think. I think there's too many touch points. They're not all digital. Some of them are in person, and people don't have the conscience. A lot of times people don't remember what they saw. They may have seen it 12 times. That's why they feel comfortable with you. They don't remember that. A lot of it's influence, and they don't remember.
Very good point. Very good point. Love that. Yeah, it's just a question for me. So you've been so deep inside of a CRM system and connected with HubSpot. We're constantly working within multiple different CRMs and seeing all the efforts that we put behind attribution, and we can't get it 100%. You can't get it 100%. No matter what you do, hell or high water, sales are coming in, business is growing, but I can't put every dollar to every cent of revenue. But okay, that's great. I love this. The conversation is going in an excellent way. You're a super intelligent individual, but I want to go back a little bit on what you brought up before, which is the reason that you got on this podcast. The concept of Kaizen, the ideology of Kaizen. For the listeners out there, Kaizen is a Japanese business philosophy that means 1% progression in both business and self every single day. There's a whole structure around Kaizen mentality and an ideology, and it brings in how to work as a team and how to compound on success, like what you brought earlier. So, Italo, my question to you, how do you find your Kaizen?
Yeah, so I found it through the Lean Startup. So, which was just, I was so excited to do this, because this was the catalyst that changed my life. I was so excited to do this. I was ready for this conversation with you. So when my company failed, and I didn't know what I did wrong, and I just tried to figure out how to fix this problem. I really had a passion for startups, and I wanted to get back into it. And so I finally found the Lean Startup, and I learned the customer discovery, customer validation model, and the iterative feedback loop of interview the customer, see what they do, make that MVP or prototype, show it to them again, get the feedback, make it better. And I did that. And I learned that with building a business, building an offer. And then I found revenue operations. I stumbled upon that too because I did revenue cycle management for doctor's offices. Those of you who don't know who are not in healthcare, revenue cycle management in doctor's offices have been around for 20 years. Like it's been around for a long time. Revenue operations for software has been around for like 5 years. It's brand new. So I was ahead of the curve on that by luck because again, when you go to a doctor, you don't pay the doctor cash usually. Like your insurance pays the doctor. And then there's a whole team of people who try to get the insurance to pay, and then the insurance doesn't want to pay for any reason. Like you forgot to dot the I. Like, this guy is, 6 months too old for that code. You need a different code. And then if you don't fix it within 90 days, it's called timely filing. You're no longer eligible to get paid. So it's like really corrupt, super corrupt, so corrupt. There's a whole team called revenue cycle management that just tries to get doctors paid for the patients that they've helped. And that's what I did my whole life since I was 15. And so I knew how to do revenue cycles already and do these like automated loops of getting money in the door. Like here's the process. Work, we got paid, put it back in the manual for next time. Build it. It changed because every year it changes, by the way. Every January, Medicare and Medicaid set the laws for the year, and then commercial insurance like Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna, United Healthcare, they all follow what Medicare and Medicaid allow, like allowables. So all these insurance companies, they lobby politicians. Politicians then make it favorable for the insurance companies. They do the law every January. Every January, there's a new law for the year, and then the commercials have to follow suit of what the government does, Medicare, Medicaid. Then they write their laws off of these laws. Or they write their allowables with their pay based on these. It changes every January. So there's always a loop of like, did it pay? Did it pay? Here's how we got paid. Boom, write that down. Okay, next one to pay. There's always this loop. And so I learned revenue cycle management through healthcare. When revenue operations happened, I already had that education. So lean startup is how to build a product and an offer and solve a problem for a customer and get their feedback and then improve it and validate it and keep doing that circle so you have the perfect product and you've helped the customer in the perfect way they want to be fed. They want to be served. And then revenue cycle management is how you go to market with your business, where I say, like, I take what I've learned from the customer and their pain and I put it into marketing and I spread that out to the world in the messaging. And when people respond to that via downloading ebooks or visiting website or filling out forms, they meet with the sales team diagnoses the problem, sells them the offer that we talked about already, and then they become customers. And as they become customers, we do interviews and case studies and get feedback on how to make it better for next time. And now you have this whole same loop within your whole business. That's called go-to-market, marketing, sales, and success working together in that feedback loop. Once you've done that, you've got it right, and that's how people are successful. And so those are the two things that changed my life. And that's how I got here where I am today. And that's why I was super excited about the concept of the podcast.
I love that. Your story is a true hero story. Like, I don't know if you've studied the concept of a hero story and the path and structure. Story selling is the book I normally recommend that breaks it down really well, but it truly is a hero story.
I haven't read that one. I'll add it to my list. I read a couple of months. I'd love to check that out.
Story selling. I think you would resonate with that incredibly well, and it fits. So let me ask you this. Let's pivot to today, right? Obviously, that was the catalyst that changed your mentality. But today, when you are going throughout your business, when you're working with your clients, when you're working with your employees, when you're working on yourself, what do you do to every single day find the opportunity to improve?
Yeah. I do two things. I try to do things that are scalable and things that are not scalable. So I find things to improve. Like if I'm doing something new for somebody, instead of just like getting it done as fast as possible, like I would have in my earlier days, because I needed money and I was desperate, and you don't have time when you're broke. Because I have a little more luxury, I can take the time to like really think it out, map it out, and like if I'm gonna do this, I'll write out the steps. The person behind me can come do it with what I have and keep adding to it, right? And we kind of like make this like open like we use ClickUp. Like ClickUp has like a Notion in it, with AI and everything. Same thing like Docs, like a Confluence, right? And so it keeps getting better, it keeps getting added, and recipes are always getting updated. And so that's how I do that with like when I'm doing new things. And those are things that are like repeatable and scalable. And so so as we do that, I get feedback from the team on those docs, and we get feedback from clients by doing check-ins every other month. Every other month we check in with people and just ask for the feedback and try to come up with clever ways of incentivize them to give us feedback and just hearing the pros and the cons. And Elma's our account manager. She says a really great, like our head of account management, and she always says a good thing on these calls. She's like, like 10 stars always makes us really happy, but like good reviews makes us really happy, but bad reviews like help us improve. So like like there's a safe space. We have a team that does these that are not their account team, that are not people that they deal with regularly, so they feel safe saying whatever's actually happening. So we can jump in and troubleshoot, or we can use it to get better. and we record it in private, surveys for the team that are on the success team. So we can use it to train the team better, make sure that, maybe it's that the strategist is really smart, really intelligent, but he's not a lot of good bedside manner, like little rude, little abrupt, really smart. We believe in him, but like little rude, and so we take these feedbacks and try to help coach the team on our one-on-ones and also just help make the service and product better for the clients. So that's like scalable things. Then things that are not scalable, like I try to go out of my way. So like how you do Christmas cards for people, like it's not a scalable thing. You got to do it by hand. Like, you got to do it yourself, right? It's something you should do to put the time in. These people trust you with their business, put the time in. So I try to do things like that. And I learned that from my buddy, Matt Bolian. He was a Rev Partners guy. Now he's a super CEO. Really great company. Like they're crushing it. I think they went from like no revenue to like, 10 million, like in a year. ARR, they're great. Super phenomenal, smart guy. I try to do things that are not scalable. Like when I see things, I kind of just try to make it a point to hop in and get the feedback. Or like, do things by hand and do things one-off as well. That's not always gonna be scalable, but you get a lot of good data there too.
Man, to take the engineering feedback loop and put it into life and every aspect of life, right?
Yeah.
I mean, super powerful. And that's, one thing that you mentioned there that I'd have to bring up to the listeners, you do not improve from your successes, you only improve from your failures. And what your account manager brings up, the communication and the system you have internal to your business for those checks and balances to ensure they're comfortable and speaking very openly so that you guys can improve is an incredible process, which if for business owners and entrepreneurs out there, you didn't know, a lot of times your customer lies to you. They didn't find you on Google. They maybe weren't very happy with the service, right? There's a lot of different opportunities for them to not be very transparent. And what Italo here is bringing up is a very strong way to get real answers out of your clients so that you can get that feedback loop going. And that feedback loop, if you didn't understand that, rewind it and listen to it again. I know he's speaking a little fast because he's on the ball and he understands what it really takes to be successful. And that is, you need to enter into market. You need to assess what's happening. You have to constantly improve on the process. And then once you think you're right, do the whole thing over again. Make sure you're right. Get your checks and balances in place. Dot your I's and cross your T's by communicating with your customer. As you brought up before, client relations management is the number one thing that I believe is the success driver for 2024 and beyond. Yeah. Awesome. This has been great. I have one last bonus question for you.
Yeah, man.
Have you ever heard of the book Atlas Shrugged?
No, not yet.
Oh, really thick book. This one, I don't know if I recommend the read. Really, really thick book, but it's an awesome concept. The conceptual concept around Atlas Shrugged is that us as business owners, you, Italo, me, the listeners out there right now, we move the world forward. Without business, without structure, behind an idea is just an idea. Once it gets added into operations, it has a structure, and then it starts affecting the world. It's actually what changes the world. The world doesn't change without business owners. The book Atlas Shrugged talks about what would happen to the world if all of us just shrugged the work off of our shoulders, if we all just left our companies, if all the business owners out there, the restaurant owners, the home improvement businesses, you, me, we just stepped away from our companies and say, you know what? I'm just going to do the 9-to-5 thing. I'm not going to put the stress of being an owner on my shoulder anymore. And I'm just going to do the normal 9-to-5 and be a regular employee. Well, my question to you, if today Atlas Shrugged, and you, me, and all the people in the world that are entrepreneurs left our businesses and the world had zero competition, what would be the first business that you would start tomorrow?
Man, that is a good one. That is a great one. Man, I don't know if we're in current day. Let me set the scene. See if this makes sense. If we're in current day and we already have apps, we already have social networks, we already have all these things, and I could start over from scratch and learn any one thing to start a business on and have no competition and build that. And in this scenario, I'm just who I am today, right? Like I don't have Elon Musk.
No, it's just who you are today. It's what you have for knowledge. It's what you have at your fingertips, but it's really, you get to do what you want to do at your core. What would be the core thing? If you had zero restrictions and all the opportunity in the world, what would you go after?
Yeah, I think I would do the healthcare thing. I think I would have went into doing the AI for healthcare, and the reason why I haven't done it now is because just the insurance companies are so corrupt, and there's so much risk in doing it. And I think that there's gonna be a lot of blowback. I think you need someone with a lot of political capital to do this. So if you could do some AI to help automate this billing practice and expose the medical healthcare industry, like we saw the United Healthcare CEO situation, like that, I have known about this my whole life. I've been doing this since I was 15. I'm 36. I've been telling people this my whole life, and people don't really understand. Like when you and I can go to the same doctor for the same reason, and because your health insurance is different from my health insurance, he has to bill it differently. So like he can't bill mine the same insurance because we have two different plans. So then he has to like make up a fake diagnosis just to get it paid. And like now I have this diagnosis for the rest of my life, and then now my medical bills are higher every year for the rest of my life. He had to rake up some fake diagnosis just to pay because I couldn't afford to pay out of pocket. And that seems ethical, but it's just unethical because it's not realistic. It's also was forced by the health insurance company. All these crazy things that they do. I think with having an AI expose this instead of just people and it being subjective, we have a big database of how this is happening over time. A lot of times they do the 90-day Tommy fine thing. Like they're public companies, so they want to push you off to pay you to the next 90-day quarter. So they don't claim the loss in this one; they put the next one. They also reinvest the money they're holding from you. They intentionally deny your claim and don't pay you, so they can go invest that money, make the money back twice, and then pay you what the profits have made off of investing your money. So it's so corrupt. If you could categorize this data by just doing it for all these practices in AI and just databasing all this stuff and showing a pattern of behavior, man. But I don't have the political capital to do that, and I don't have the risk tolerance to go after that and get attacked by every politician in the world.
I hope and pray. I have loved talking to you. For the listeners out there that have gone through this video and are super engaged and super interested in your story and looking for help to optimize their HubSpot and put them in a position for success in the B2B space, how would they connect with you?
You can go to peddling, peddling.io. Our business is called Peddle, but the website's peddling.io, like pedal spin flywheels. And so, go on there, hit the contact us form, or you can follow them on LinkedIn. It's just /Italo Leiva, LinkedIn/in/Italo Leiva. Reach out to me either way. Send me a message on LinkedIn, book a meeting with me. It's all on LinkedIn or the website.
Oh, awesome. All that content's going to be right below in the description. Contact Italo and his team at Peddle. He is absolutely crushing it. It's great to have this conversation with you. And for the listeners, if you've made it this far, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.